Check out the latest highlights from the Nourishing You podcast.
Yeah, so to your point, the global skincare market is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry that appears to be growing at breakneck speed. And there seems to be a common belief that our skin needs to be addressed more from the outside. But what you're saying is it's really an inside job. So you alluded to this earlier, but can we get into some of the details about diet? You mentioned collagen is great for the skin, but what are some specific foods that you love? Maybe foods you don't love? Is there a specific diet that you recommend that people follow? Let's get into the details there.
Yes. And I'll point out, I do think it's a dual pronged approach for
Okay.
skin, right?
Okay.
There's a lot you can do bad and good from the outside in. But yes, the inside out is probably the most important piece because skin is supposed to function on its own. We shouldn't need to put, oceans of lotions and potions on our skin. That's not the way it was meant to function. So I think you're right that the focus should be on the inside. So let's talk diet and what kind of stuff can help and harm skin. So if we kind of start with the harming first, there's something called AGEs, Advanced Glycation End Products. And it's a little bit scientific and technical, but if anyone is familiar with diabetes, I think we all know diabetes is a condition where there's too much sugar in the blood. And there's a test we can do called the hemoglobin A1C, and that gives us a number. And the higher the number, kind of the worse it is. And what that number means is it's looking at your red blood cell and it's trying to see how much sugar has attached itself to the red blood cell. So this is an AGE, an advanced glycation end product. And what the AGE is sugar finds proteins, so either DNA or amino acids, and it attaches itself to it. And that's what's happening in diabetes. There's so much sugar in the blood that it starts to attach itself to red blood cells. And that gives us the measure of how somebody's blood sugar control is doing. We want nice low hemoglobin A1Cs, not a lot of sugar attaching itself to the red blood cells. Well, the same thing happens in the body, and those sugars can attach themselves to skin and things like tendons and all of the connective tissue in your body. And unfortunately, when sugar attaches itself to skin or any tissue in the body, it really makes a bad form of that tissue. So for skin, I tell my patients, think of it like making it like crispy, crunchy, crispy skin. That's not what we want. We want nice, soft, supple skin. We don't want hard, crunchy, crispy skin. And sugar literally does that. It ages you with AGEs, advanced glycation end products. So the more sugar you eat, literally, the crunchier and worse your skin is going to look. There's other foods that can produce AGEs. So foods that are high naturally in these advanced glycation end products, a lot of meats and cheeses, so animal products. Plants are naturally low in AGEs. And then the cooking method has a big impact on AGEs. And we know that if people are eating a diet high in AGEs, they're absorbing a large percentage of that, and it absolutely gets in and attaches to their skin and other connective tissue. So the type of cooking methods that are going to be high in these AGEs that will age you are things that create that browning response. So crispy, putting something in a fryer, putting something in a toaster. Whenever that food is turning brown and crispy and crunchy, we like the taste of it because it is yummy, but it's actually not good for us. That's creating AGEs. I think people know now that like putting meat on the grill and charring it, so there's black lines on the meat. We found that that's actually carcinogenic, and that's part of this Maillard reaction. But even just browning and crisping food. So the cooking methods like frying, broiling, toasting, all of those browning reactions, you're creating AGEs and then you're eating them and they're going to go into your tissues like your skin. Cooking methods that create lower AGEs are the water-based methods. So steaming, poaching, those kinds of things, like even a sauteing in water. If you're not creating that crisping browning, you won't be creating AGEs and you won't be aging your skin. High-fat diets also create something called oxidative stress, ages skin. So we know all of the things that I think typically think of as not great for us, right? Fried foods, fatty foods, a heavy diet and animal products. It is literally going to age you, and high sugar, as we talked about. So what foods can we eat that can help us out and make our skin look healthy? I think the hero is always coming back to plants, whole plant foods. So we know that plants actually help create lower ages. They're not high in sugar, and the beautiful colors that come in the plants can actually make us look younger. So there's been studies on carotenoids. Carotenoids are those like orange and yellow type pigments in fruits and vegetables. So if you think of, like a butternut squash or carrots, any of those, yellow, orange kind of stuff. The higher the diet in carotenoids, they did a study in Japan, the lower the level of crow's feet on aging populations. There's things called polyphenols, which are other bright, beautiful colors in our plants and fruits, like blueberries and blackberries and raspberries. Anything with those brightly colored fruits and vegetables are filled with this antioxidant polyphenols, and each color gives you a different benefit. So I think there's this sense of eating the rainbow now and getting a wide diversity of these polyphenols in the diet. And they all are anti-aging. They will repair skin and make it look healthier and younger. So, the best diet is a whole foods, plant-based diet. For me, I don't have any issue with patients who want to eat meat. I think the issue is the quantity of meat that we're eating and the fact that it's crowding plants out of the diet. So my recommendation to patients, we're always trying to get to 35 grams of fiber a day and at least 30 different plants a week. So we're trying to build in a quantity of fiber, but also a diversity of fiber. And then with meat, we want to do appropriate portion sizes. So I have patients look at their palm. That's about an appropriate serving. It usually works out to be about 3 to 4 ounces of meat per meal. I don't think we need animal products at every meal, but we get a lot of nutrients from animal products that we would have difficulty getting from plants. So I have no problem with people eating, an omnivore diet. Again, as long as it's plant-based, plant-heavy. So I say half the plate when you sit down to eat needs to be vegetables, and then you can fill it up with other things like some grains or some healthy proteins that were, raised in a healthy way so that animal can confer health on you. But really plants are the key towards healthy skin even. So.
And I'm curious about your take on alcohol.
Yeah, so alcohol is what we call a J curve. And what that means is that people who drink a little bit of alcohol tend to see the overall it's a correlation, not a causation. But people who have light alcohol consumption tend to correlate with kind of health. People who have zero alcohol consumption ever, for some reason, tend to be just a teeny bit less healthy, not much. But then we start working our way up the J curve as alcohol consumption increases. Alcohol is a toxin. So we never want to consume too much of a toxin. And it does tend to disrupt the gut microbiome. And we haven't really talked about the gut microbiome yet, but there's a very intimate relationship between the microbes living in your gut and how healthy they are and how healthy your skin is. And so the average adult human has about 3 to 5 pounds of microbes living in their gut. And we need to craft and make sure the healthy guys win. And what they're looking for is fiber. The not so healthy guys are looking for things like animal protein and fat and sugar. But we also create something called a mucosal barrier in our entire intestinal tract. And that mucosal barrier provides a function similar to the skin. We talked about how the skin has to let certain things out, put certain things through. The gut has a similarly difficult job. We want to get nutrients from our food from the gut into the bloodstream so that we can send it out to every cell. But we do not want, 3 to 5 pounds of bacteria or fungal things like candida or undigested food getting into the bloodstream. And that mucosal barrier helps basically control that the right things get in, but the wrong things do not get in. And alcohol tends to erode and degrade that barrier. So, no doctor is going to tell you that high alcohol consumption is good. It's not. We know that it's detrimental to health, to skin health, to gut health. It's absolutely going to age you. As far as very light alcohol consumption, I think some people can get away with it. But when I have patients with leaky gut, we try to eliminate all alcohol to begin because it's a toxin and it's going to work on degrading that mucosal barrier and increasing leaky gut. And that's, not something we want. I think we also thought, oh, 1 drink a day, that's maybe the level that works. And at first it was like men and women, or it was like 2 drinks a day. And then we realized women can generally not have as much as men. And now it's like not even a drink a day. So I think, very moderate drinking, if somebody wants to have a glass of wine on the weekend and they're healthy, I don't think there's a problem with that. But alcohol certainly causes widespread, damage in high levels. And it's really something we should think about as something that we should do in very small amounts and not be part of our daily routine for sure. Like coming home from work and opening wine or beer is not a helpful habit for people to have.
If you enjoyed this short episode, check out our full library on our NAMP YouTube channel, where you can catch up or learn more. Keep in mind that the information on the NAMP podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be considered medical or legal advice. The NAMP is not liable or responsible for any harm, damage, or illness arising from the use of the information contained herein. By listening to the information on this podcast, you agree to defend, indemnify, and hold harmless the NAMP and all agents. Copyright NAMP, all rights reserved.